This is Comic Geek Speak, Infinite Crisis, episode number 1. And welcome to the show. Apparently I forgot to turn off Instant Messenger. Alright. We always just start off right with a good show, huh, don't we? We are professionals.
Professionalism right out the window.
So this is the moment everyone has been anxiously awaiting. This is, for those of you, if this is like the first show you've ever listened to or whatever, this show is a special episode outside of our normal continuity, and there'll be spoilers, and nothing but spoilers. So, if you haven't read Infinite Crisis, I forbid you from listening to this episode.
Yes, be forewarned.
So anyway, I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Matt.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
And we're all here to talk Infinite Crisis number 1. Who wants to start?
Peter should.
How many shattered Earths do you give it?
100 million.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
I did 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was pretty good.
I definitely got
I was
an
gonna say,
adrenaline shot at the last page.
I just wanted to know what was everybody's geek moment, because that what Brian said right there. As soon as I hit that last page, I knew what was coming. I knew who it was, but when they showed that last page, it was like, boing, geekgasm.
For me, it would have to be, I think, a line that's come up several times on the thread for this is Batman saying to Superman, the last time you inspired anybody is when you died.
Yeah, well, it was good.
For me, obviously, it was the last page, because one of the other nights that we recorded, Shane let me borrow Infinite Crisis and Villains United, and when I was done, I stepped out of the studio into the kitchen where everybody else was, and I literally jumped up and down.
Yeah, you were hopping around
Yes, you did.
like a kindergartner.
I said that was, and I didn't even really read. I was like fast. What was that? Electric Company's the speed reader. We're on Electric Company.
That was Great Space Coaster.
Oh, Great Space Coaster. Is that what it is?
Well, there was Speed Reader on both, I think, but
okay.
I think of Great Space Coaster.
And I got to that last page and went, whoa! Total geek moment.
Well, and I it was even geekier for me because I had no idea it was coming. I think it's mostly because I just don't ever look into things. I don't ever try to figure it out. I just turn the page and read in, and I go, "Oh wow, look at that!" And also, I guess because I'm not so familiar with the DC universe, and I wasn't even thinking about it at the time.
As soon as I saw page 5 with the shadows, I thought, man, that's got to be them. But I couldn't figure out one of them, and it was probably Lois, the way she's shadowed on that page. But everybody else was thinking, well, it's got to be Superman. That one I knew, and I'm thinking it's Alexander Luthor. And then, yeah, when you got to the last page and it was actually verified and validated, that was cool.
So the question I have to ask, because we set this up a long time ago, is Brian, having not read any of the other miniseries leading up to this, what were your impressions?
I didn't have any trouble. I mean, there were things that I didn't know exactly what was happening, but it wasn't like it was so confusing. When the robots, which are OMAC or whatever, show up. I mean, I didn't know that they were OMAC because they don't look anything like the OMAC from the John Byrne OMAC series. So, but I just kind of put 2 and 2 together because obviously I know there was an OMAC miniseries. So I
mean, they got the fin and the eye, so I mean that's a little bit of an homage.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you don't really know what's going on. But when you read the first issue of Crisis, the original Crisis, you didn't know what the hell was going on. Hell, you read all 12 issues, you still didn't know what the hell was going on. So, I mean, why would I expect anything? I mean, to be a little confused, that's not a big deal.
Is there more to know than just there's a space war, there's a whole bunch of killer robots, magic is going crazy, and the villains are unleashed? I mean, we talked about this a little on the forum. The status quo. All you really need to know is the status quo of exactly this first issue. And in my mind, DC has prepped us And if you feel left out, I really think it's nobody's fault but your own, because they've been prepping you for a long time.
I said that on the forum. I said, this does make me regret not buying those miniseries as they came out, but at the same time, it's the way I like to get dumped into a story. I don't like to be handheld the entire time. It's like these movies when they spend 20 minutes doing the origin. Even though I already know it, it's more exciting when you don't know it. Just dump me into the middle of it, start telling the story, and I'll figure it out as we go along, and give me little clues here and there so that I can figure it out. But it's more fun when you don't know the whole thing. Otherwise, how exciting is it to know every detail? There's no mystery then.
Yeah, I think Jeff Johns is a good enough writer that he's going to flesh it out. But the other thing, too, is that for me, the miniseries, they ended. And they all ended with that little piece of story that they were trying to deal with for those 6 issues. But they all ended with even yet a new beginning. Everything that happens in Rann-Thanagar War, that conflict ended. And then that last page, there was something new, which is going into Infinite Crisis. Same thing with OMAC Project. The main conflict ended, and the thing that jumps out of issue 6 into this one is that all of a sudden, anybody that was an OMAC, they were woken up, and they're now going to be, going after all the heroes. Same thing. A new conflict is the beginning.
And there again, where we're talking about how it ties into previous things, I mean, as much as that wasn't a great series, there's Millennium where the same thing happened with the Manhunters, where they were just ordinary people or ordinary heroes, and they were woken up to be a Manhunter. Same thing, they were woken up to be an OMAC in this.
Right. I got a huge Shadow Demon vibe when you saw all the OMACs together on that double page. I was like, oh, it's the Shadow Demons from Crisis. It's the same kind of thing. There were so many, I thought, just throwbacks to the first Crisis. It just was great.
I was just going to say, on this page with the Spectre where the bat signal shines out. Well, first of all, they haven't used a bat signal in a long time, but pretty much you think that's a red herring? I can't see that as foreshadowing.
You know what? Let me tell you how much of a red herring it is, because I didn't even notice it. I mean, I saw the bat symbol and I went, that's cool, there's a Spectre, there's a bat symbol, and everyone's like, but it's on the Spectre's chest, and that's where the bat logo goes on the chest. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Just don't get so excited. You can read into any. It's like reading 18th century poetry. It means 10 billion things according to 10 billion different people. It's just a freaking picture. There's the Spectre's in the sky. The bat symbol shines on the sky. Where else is the bat symbol going to go?
I kind of think maybe I'm wrong here, but to me, the reason why they kind of brought Hal Jordan back from the Spectre is that just kind of didn't go over too well. To me, you can't really have one hero like that move into another, and I think the same thing would be true with Batman going to Spectre. It's not, or Bruce Wayne. It's not going to hold up too well as if you have somebody completely new going into the Spectre and just.
Well, and with a Jim Corrigan in Gotham Central, I mean, eventually he's got to become the Spectrum. I mean, that would be kind of offbeat and weird if he didn't, especially given his character background.
Somebody probably saw preliminary art, saw the bat signal on Spectre, and went, "Oh God, they're gonna." I mean, that's the only thing I could even think that would clue anybody into that.
Well, and it could be just that they did it just because they knew people would talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, to make them think, oh well, they're going to do it again. No, I would be terribly disappointed if they did that. That would almost ruin the series. If
Who knows?
They did that.
We may be eating our words in 4 or 5 months.
Hey, who's the wizard?
The Shazam's wizard,
Yeah,
Shazam.
Shazam.
The one that bestowed all the powers on Shazam.
One in the Rock.
He's dead?
Yeah, it's the Shazam wizard.
Well, yeah, he kind of that was at the end of Day of Vengeance. Shazam fought the Spectre, but it was all really a setup for the Spectre to go in and beat on the Wizard, and that kind of ended with all of the I guess the 7 deadly sins are now running amok in Gotham.
Well, not to go too far, but back with the minis, I'd say, Brian, don't make sure to read those, but also the latest story in JLA.
I read that. Shane lent me those issues. I read
was
that.
Say that's,
well, that leads right up to the last page. Or whatever.
Yeah. That I would say that's something you definitely have to make sure you read. If you say, F the miniseries, at least the JLA is one that brings you right up to it.
I think Villains United is pretty well worth it too. At least that last issue of Villains United, just because it explains all about Mockingbird and Luthor and their respective teams.
And what's with the the Freedom Force, like, have they ever, like, in the last couple of years, have they been in the, is it Freedom Force? What the hell is it? Freedom Fighters, whatever. Freedom Force is that group in X-Men, right? They work for the CIA or something, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mystique's group.
Yeah, exactly.
Freedom Force,
Yeah, with the blob or whatever. Anyway.
I thought there was an old Image one like that too, with all sorts of wingnut characters.
But like they're in here as if they're prominent members of the DC universe, and like, do we ever see them? Have they have any sightings in the last like 10 years? I mean, what's the deal?
We saw Phantom Lady and Starman, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Black Condor's been in Starman.
Well, Black Condor, yeah. But I mean, like as a team, they haven't even like.
Not really. I mean, I love the team, but they really haven't done much with it. I think it's just
the only.
Well, it was a way of showing some heroes fighting and showing them getting their asses handed to them.
Well, and a throwback to Crisis.
Yeah, and that too, because they survived Crisis.
That's the only time I've ever heard about them. If I hadn't read Crisis, I wouldn't even know who they were.
In Our Worlds at War, in the JSA special, did you get that? The JSA Our Worlds at War special? No.
I don't think so.
Because they all came together to go after some space alien factory thing. I even forget. But as they broke up into different groups, one group broke up and they were kind of like the Seven Soldiers of Victory, and another group broke up and they were the Freedom Fighters, and there were a lot of these guys teamed up in that. But that was just that one special. I think there was another group, and the whole thing was supposed to be like an all-star squadron homage, but they were in there, but I don't remember if it was exactly these same characters. I imagine it could be. But there's never been an official gathering for these guys. I think it was just to show just how serious the villains are.
I guess.
I mean, we always talk about villains and heroes fighting, and finally there's, villains who are actually acting like what I think villains would act like.
I found it a little bit surprising. Flash didn't have any kind of appearance in this at all. At least not that I remember seeing.
Well, not yet. I mean, Batman and Superman didn't really show up in Crisis until like issue 3 or something like that.
I was just thinking with Crises
that
you're all, to me, Flash is one of those characters that you almost see in every single book because something's going to change.
Right. I have to say, the artwork, not strong. I don't think this is Phil Jimenez's strongest I've seen.
Admit it.
Cleaner.
You said before the show it sucked.
No, I didn't say that. It's inked heavily. I don't know. I don't know if that's him or Andy Lanning. It's the last page. Although it's great, that's
it looks wacky.
It's not. It's not his cleanest stuff. If you ever see like his work on Invisibles, man, that is just like clean lines and.
But couldn't that be the inker because it's such a downer type book, like such a heavy book that he was doing it to show a very imposing tone?
Maybe
like darkness, shadows, evil.
I even think, but some of his anatomy and some of his, the panel layout is great. I thought the storytelling from panel to panel was fine. Very reminiscent of the first Crisis, but he's a little more open than Perez was. Shucks, in Crisis.
Cha-ching.
This is outside the regular episode.
So that's twice as much.
Yeah, but there were a few. I was kind of like, wow, I don't know.
It was the inking. I kind of think the inking and the shadowing kind of takes away from a little bit from his work, but I didn't have any complaints. I thought the artwork was really nice.
Anybody think it was kind of weird that Mongol was just kind of thrown in there that first few pages?
Yeah.
I was just wondering who the hell he is and how is he on equal footing with Batman.
He was like
Superman.
What, King of War World?
Yeah. That was basically Our Worlds at War.
Yeah, and that was also in the one well, you didn't watch the cartoon. Sorry. He was in the one cartoon where Superman went to War World and was being forced to battle other aliens.
Yeah, he's the guy who was responsible for Coast City not being there anymore.
Yeah.
For what city?
Coast City.
Whose city is that?
Hal Jordan.
Back then in the.
Oh yeah, that's right.
This is actually.
I keep forgetting who I'm talking to.
This is actually Mongol's son. This is actually the son of Mongol, who also goes by the name of Mongol. Yeah. I think they used him just to again, it's another kind of device to show just how far Wonder Woman's going to go.
I also think, though, based on something I'm going to talk about a little bit later, he's got to have some more prominent part in it also.
I don't know.
I'm sure it didn't allude to anything.
I was talking to Scotty at the Golden Eagle when I went to pick this up, and he said, it's amazing how they keep getting on this case with Wonder Woman, how it's like jaywalkers, I gotta cut your head off. But nobody really even seems to be bringing up the fact that Superman keeps seeming to get mind controlled all the time. It's always this Wonder Woman has this bloodlust now.
Well, see, and this again was on the forum, and they say, well, it's only been the past 2 years that they've been acting like this, and I'm like, no, it's been since 1986 that we've had this whole Superman versus Batman thing. It's been since Frank Miller's Dark Knight, and then it was reinforced in John Byrne's Man of Steel, and it just kept going from there and there. That Batman doesn't trust Superman, and Superman doesn't agree with Batman's methods. And there have been other instances where Wonder Woman has killed. I mean, granted it was a god, but in the early Perez stuff, she sliced off that one guy who had all the snakes. He was one of the sons of Ares. And
The Snake Man.
Yeah. Demos, I think his name is. And sliced his head off with with her tiara. And, so she has no qualms about killing. So this isn't something that they just tried to force in there for the story. This
Well, let
is
me
stuff
ask you,
that's been around.
Since you brought that up, do you have a problem with that, the Superman-Batman type of...
No.
Because I was going to say, to me, at the end, I always felt Superman's end, if he ever would go rogue, it would definitely be... they have kind of a mutual relationship, but at the same time, I think it's been said... There was a couple times in the JLA books how that, it's pretty much the closest thing to a friend Batman has, so it's kind of... They don't see eye to eye, but at the same time, there's that respect between the two of them that they are still friends, and that's why... I don't think you could really have one without the other. You almost need them to balance each other. And the way that it's been written since the last Crisis, where that's how it is, and there's so many storylines where they fight each other, I think that's the best way of putting it, rather than pre-Crisis, where it's like they're buddies and they would switch costumes and do all those kind of...
Have coffee and...
Yeah, just...
Have coffee in the Batcave, or tea, whatever.
Well, I don't have a problem with Wonder Woman killing, even killing Max Lord. I don't understand the mentality where other heroes say we don't kill. I think it should be stated we shouldn't kill. But when you're put against the wall and there's no other way to get rid of somebody controlling Superman's mind, I mean, you mean to tell me that the heroes are actually going to let him run rampant under somebody else's mind control when there is absolutely no other way to get rid of him? And because Max had the lasso around him, he's telling the truth. The only way to get rid of his control is killing him. Okay, so Wonder Woman takes it upon herself to do it. I don't have a problem with that because of she's done it before, because of the circumstance. Yeah, they shouldn't kill, but...
don't... one thing I always thought was, and I wasn't totally convinced that she did it of her own free will, because if you looked at the lettering when he said "kill me," he was using his power and forcing her to kill him.
Could be.
And
I didn't think of that.
And that's, I was never sure if it was one of those she wanted to do it, and she realized that as a warrior, she realized that was the only way, he was correct, and that was the only way she was going to get rid of him, or was he using his power on her and forcing the hand, knowing what, being so dedicated to his cause that he knew that, killing of her would lead down a path that would split, the big three, which is what he wanted to do, to begin with.
But wouldn't she have a problem with it then after the fact? Or do you think he just nudged her in the right direction?
I think he just nudged her. I think he may have seen, maybe she would listen to Superman and not do it. And he just said, "Kill me." And it was like, snap. And I have no problem with it either. She's a warrior. That's how she was raised to deal with problems.
But I didn't think of it that way. That's a good point. I thought he was so intent on keeping Superman control. I didn't think about nudging her the right way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that may be something that might come out later down the road. I think it would be a little bit of a cop-out if it was her being controlled.
Oh, no,
because you always want to assume that these are,
But I'm not saying, I agree with you. I don't want it to be that's the reason she did it. Yeah. I'm just saying that it's there and something they could explore, too.
How about Nightwing and Starfire getting a little kissy in there before she goes off with Donna? What's with that? When do they get married then, I guess?
I think that's just a throw. They just did that
yeah.
for the fans.
I'm just like, woo.
Yeah. Now the good,
Get a
Because
little
his house
something,
has
something.
actually changed.
the neat thing about that page that you're talking about is what Supergirl says. She goes, "My cousin's not exactly thrilled with the idea, but hey, saving the universe sounds pretty cool to me."
Yeah.
Such an obvious throwback to her dying in the original Crisis.
Wasn't her cape similar? Because I don't think, since she's been introduced, it had that little gold lining around the...
Oh yeah. That's,
What's
that's
with
a neat
Wonder
design.
Woman's cape?
Oh, I love that cape.
Is that new?
No.
No, she had that even in the
That's-
TV show.
That's an old one.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing
Hey,
that.
it's cold
before.
up on the moon.
She's used that on occasion. Usually you saw that one when Hippolyta was Wonder Woman. My question is, and I don't, maybe they haven't, maybe it hasn't come out yet. Maybe I haven't read it. But what was the allusions to the Power Girl in that same scene you were talking about, where she was talking about, we're the same, or there is no Power Girl, or there's... Because I was reading the JSA, and the JSA Classified haven't gotten, through that whole story.
Is 4 out already?
I don't
I
believe
don't
so.
think so.
And I was just wondering if maybe I missed something, because I haven't read the Donna Troy, the last part of the Return of Donna Troy. That one's coming in my...
I believe up to part 3 that it's just... There's hints that... I don't know, maybe...
There's
It
something
doesn't
in
belong-
it's something in Supergirl, I think.
Yeah, and
At the
Supergirl,
end.
they've done where she's trying to meet her type deal, and they just keep winding up fighting one another, and they haven't really
think-
explained that either.
I think it's whatever issue that we didn't get yet. I think
Okay.
it's in. I think it's in-
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. Did I miss something that maybe you guys had read and I hadn't seen it?
No.
It seems to me, and maybe I read something, or maybe I bought an issue of something that came out without waiting for my sub, but it seems to me that Power Girl's hurt because Kara's there. She always considered herself Superman's cousin.
Yeah.
And now she's having these illusions about being pulled into every other universe and doesn't really know where she's from at all.
Mhm.
So I think it's just she doesn't want to be around Kara. It's just bad blood right now.
Yeah.
No, I think, isn't it, if they're in so close to each other, her
There wa-
powers just go...
There was something that her powers go berserk if she gets within a certain distance. And that I think was Supergirl.
In my mind, I just hope they just make her the Earth 2 Superman's cousin, like she's always been, and just leave. I think that's why we're getting all those JSA classified origins, because they're trying to steer us in all these different directions, and then they're just going to turn around and go, you know what? She's always been, and she always will be. I don't know how they're going to make it work.
Well,
But
I think with all the universes crossing in her mind, that she's starting to realize that she is from another universe, and it's just her connection. Maybe kind of like Donna could see everything at the I can't remember what that place was called. The
Kronos.
Kronos.
I don't want to make this a big bashing on this, but this I think goes to show you how interesting a storyline you can have, where you got JSA classifieds, the minis, Justice League, all these things that just lead up to this grand story. And again, I don't want to make this a bashing the entire episode, but then you have House of M, where it just seems, you just pick up into the storyline and pretty much you're there from issue 1, and then nothing really seems to be a lead up to it if you hadn't read last year with was it Disassembled or whatever. And this, to me, this is what makes this an interesting story, is that there's so many different angles you can read to help follow the story even further, rather than just have 7 issues, that's it, it's done. A repercussion issue, and then that's it.
Well, for me, what I like about this, and if we're going to go, start talking about this a little bit, what I like about this is the fact that this is the universe. This is the DC universe. This isn't a fake universe where, things are happening and you're reading about different stories that you don't know about, different characters you don't really know about, the different, parallel type lives that they're leading. And yeah, I'm sure they'll have, House of M will have repercussions throughout the Marvel Universe, but not on the level this has. I mean, this has, taken the entire DC Universe, turned it on its ear, and, it's just better right now. And I'm reading both. I'm trying to read House of M with an open mind, but it hasn't lived up to what this, I think, is going to live up to.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask. Just predicting a little bit down the line, if they kind of reversed Crisis, where all these alternate Earths would exist again, is that a good idea, you think, or do you think you almost prefer just the one? Somehow make everything that it can just be the one Earth again.
I prefer the one. That's just me. I'd prefer the one. Although it would be nice, that there's, if they present the idea that they're there, and that somebody can go and explore it, like a Grant Morrison wants to take something and explore on that universe.
No.
And I'm just saying.
Well, we already know there's an Earth 1.
Yeah.
And we're actually Earth 2 now.
But if
What?
From from Frank Quitely and
Oh, that was the antimatter universe.
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Because I thought
Which
Alexander Luthor had named his Earth 1 and ours.
Well,
was
he
Earth
did.
2.
Yeah, I mean, in the story, I think, and again, I think that was just like a nod to the readers. But that's basically the antimatter universe, which has always been around. They never got rid of that.
Yeah, but I mean, if they have, and they're they say they're there, and somebody can go out and explore and play with them, that's fine. But as long as it just stays, everything kind of stays on this Earth, I'd rather just see one.
Yeah, I'd rather see one.
I'd like to see one, but like Jamie, I'd like to see say some of the JSA goes to another Earth to explore and runs into the younger JSA during whatever they all have their own Earths, but you just get a crossover every now and then, not heavily intertwined confusion.
I'm already confused.
Is that how it was pre-Crisis? I'm not too familiar with that era.
Yeah,
but-
pre-Crisis, they just had a whole bunch of Earths. The JSA were on Earth 2, JLA
So
Earth 1.
You're pretty much looking if they kind of reversed Crisis, where everything that was capable before Crisis is now capable again.
It would probably be a little different. They probably. I just hope they don't. I mean, I think they would ruin some of the history that they're able to have having everybody on one Earth. I think it would just having the JSA be the first super team. That's the whole reason why the JLA exists, is because they're in honor of the JSA. And the Teen Titans and Legion and all the and Freedom Fighters were a part of World War II, and so were the Blackhawks and all that. I mean, for me, to go back to what Matt was saying about House of M, when Marvel started in the 60s, the biggest thing that fans latched onto was that it was a cohesive universe.
Mm-hmm.
Things reflected into each book, and if characters crossed over, it crossed over into, and Broken Arm, they had a broken arm in another story, and that's what you have here. You just have a whole cohesive universe, and yet, there are still some people out there who go, "Oh, I don't want to read all this other stuff." Da, 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 da. Marvel doesn't do us like that. Well, do you realize that that's what how Marvel started? I mean, it's kind of funny that it's the whole thing of people enjoy their books. They want their books to always be the way they are from the books that they started reading from. So if somebody started in 1995, they don't care about anything before that. They want all their books to be like 1995 and on. So, this event is even more cohesive in my mind than the original Crisis. It makes more sense. It's laid out. Its plans are, even though the planning was still obvious back then, when we heard Marv Wolfman talk at Baltimore, he was like, he had a lot of writers who were against him.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say that.
I mean, he had a lot of flack, and it wasn't until they realized what he said, that they could cross over into their book, and their book would shoot up in sales, that they went, "Oh, by the way, we want you to do this, da-da-da." He said, all these writers around 6, 7, 8, or maybe even later, all of a sudden they woke up and they decided to be a part of it, and that's why it started to get a little choppy at the end. This one's been in the planning for years with just a handful of people, and which is good because it keeps it secret, They released things. They're not dummies. This whole thing where we're now getting specials for Ran Thanagar, OMAC Project, all that are going to be released during the 7 issues. I don't think that was a mistake, and I don't think that was an afterthought. I think they knew way ahead of time that they were going to do this. So everything's been planned out, and what you're going to get, which God, I think way back in episode 3 when we were doing previews, I said, what I hope happens is, on the flip side of this, we get a stronger universe. Heroes are heroes, legends are legends, icons are icons, and we move away and say goodbye to all these Alan Moore wannabes in this dark and gritty era, and we just get some good superhero books again. That's it. That's all I want.
And, based on the things that I've heard this year on the convention circuit from Dan DiDio and some of the other DC people, you kind of get the feeling that they want DC to be an easy-to-understand universe to encourage new readers and to that's just the vibe that I get. They want to be known as the company that does superheroes. So
yeah, I would agree.
That kind of makes sense, if that's their plan.
And you know what? Despite what some people think, I enjoy the idea that storylines, like you said, if somebody breaks their arm in the Flash, well, then if that character's in Superman, he's going to still have a broken arm for a little bit. I like that idea because it gives you that idea that the books are all tied together. You don't have to read every single book, but everything's tied together. That it's kind of like life is to some extent, where there's so many factors that factor in, and no matter what you do, and that's what I like about DC right now is that it's just like one big story with these small tangents, and how many tangents you pick up, it's up to you, but everything just flows together.
Yeah, I mean the thing I think we're in an age where we're just spoiled. We get previews, we get the internet, we get message board, we get spoilers, so everybody wants the payoff right away. Now, there's a difference between payoff pacing, such as, not to bash it, but like House of M, where one poster said they read issue 7 and they were like, "Oh, finally, it justifies the whole series." If that's how you want your books, more power to you. But I don't want my books like that. I don't want to wait 6 issues. There's a difference between having to have an issue justify the first 6 issues, or having a series that builds to a conclusion. So my first thing is sometimes we're too ending oriented. We're like, we want the ending, and it better be good or the whole series sucks. Well, why can't you enjoy each development? Watchmen, the ending doesn't work if you don't have 11 issues of development and characters growing and interaction and a story unfolding, And
actually caring about some of these characters.
Yeah, so there's that. Then there's the whole thing, to go back to the whole message board things, that I think we think too far ahead nowadays. Brian always says, I don't want to read trailers, I don't want to look at trailers, and you know what? Sometimes you got to blind yourself to that kind of stuff, because you're going to know too much, and then you're not going to enjoy it when it doesn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. Well, you're not the one writing the books. Who cares what you think? It's like, you got to let it unfold.
Well, and you know what? That's, to me, I really appreciate that DC, basically no one knew anything that was going to be in this book, because they didn't tell you. They simply didn't tell you. Am I right?
Right.
I mean, they said Infinite Crisis #1's coming out, but we're not telling you anything. And I mean, even the creators didn't know. Like, I got somebody we talked to who writes for DC. They didn't even, like, Scott Beatty. It was Scott Beatty. He said he can't wait to read Infinite Crisis because he has no idea what's going on. The guy freaking writes in the Bat universe, and he doesn't even know what's going on in Infinite Crisis. So if they're keeping it from their own writers, they're certainly not going to tell us. And I hope they do the same damn thing with 52. I don't want to know. They got a whole year to keep their mouths shut. I don't want to know word one about what's going on in 52. Let us find out each Wednesday. And so and I think they learned that since the internet can't keep its mouth shut, since if you put something out there, everybody suddenly knows 5 seconds later, just don't put anything out there. Don't let anybody know anything. And the 5 writers and the 3 artists or whatever, they're not going to say anything because it'll get back to, that they spilled the beans. They'll be out of a job. So I love it.
Well, and to go back on something that Peter says, isn't there an old cliche that it's not the ending, it's the journey for a story? And that's, to me, if, again, don't want to go back to House of M, but if by the 7th issue, that's when it justifies, that means you just had 6 issues of filler. Why don't you just have 1 issue and then 2 start to justify the story, go on there? Just like they had a 3-issue story, and they were like, well, let's open it up, make it 8.
Yeah. I mean, and this story isn't done. I mean, Infinite Crisis is not the final thing. 52 may not be the final thing. I think they're planning
through like 2007 or something
Yeah,
like
so
that?
so if 52 is 2006, then they may just have something else. That,
Well, it's more. It's half. I mean, we have 6 more months of this.
well,
That'll push us into 2006. So 52 won't finish up till almost halfway through.
52 starting in January.
It starts in January.
Yeah.
Because
Oh.
the
They take
issue
a break
between
one of the issues.
yeah, that's where everything gets reset, and that's when 52 starts
Something
to tell the
happens.
story
Oh.
about that past year.
Oh, I thought we had to wait till it was over.
No.
No.
So then it's even more confusing because now you're reading what happened in the break and what happened at the end of the
Right.
break,
Right.
and
Well, it's not that.
it's kind of like Secret War.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just like sequel. But
Which I think is a story device that I actually like. I like when Marvel did it. I like when 5 years later Legion did it. I like that. Kind
Oh,
of,
wow.
talk about throwing yourself into a story. Nobody's going to know.
At least it'll speed up the time between issues of Infinite Crisis.
And you're still not going to know the end of Infinite Crisis because you're
Oh,
only
right.
reading about that in between stage.
Right? No, I'm fine with it. I'm just it will help pass the time between issues of Infinite Crisis.
You're jumping in that deep end of the pool there, boy.
Yeah.
well, the at the crisis counseling that I went to, Dan Didio, whatever they pronounce his name.
Didio.
He said about how, Infinite Crisis isn't. He doesn't consider it an event. It's just a storyline. It's the entire DC universe is just one big story, and this is just another story point that just is added to the extremely long story of DC. So they don't even look at it as it's a major event. They just look at it. It's just another story that's just coming up throughout the universe.
I was going to say that I wasn't at Crisis Counseling, and I didn't read these other miniseries, but everything is so connected in this that's what it feels like. It feels like they've spent time connecting everything. Well, now, because there's like 4 different things going on here, so it's not one event. It's like several different storylines. So it doesn't feel like an event. It feels like just part of a bigger story. And that is cool. So it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like, hey, we needed to sell some comics, so let's make an event.
Yeah, and I kind of hope this is kind of how 52 is as well. It's not that each issue deals with one story, but that we get like subplots and things like that.
I'm gonna switch gears. What do you think of Lex and Pariah? Do you
They
think
make
he's
a bad
actually
couple.
dead?
Well, if you don't see it, you can't really say it is.
Look
you
at
know?
Blue Beetle. No, actually, I believe Murd was telling me that Pariah can't be killed.
Right. Unless that machine did something whammy jammy on him, but no, I don't think he's it.
Hey, they still haven't released the price for 52, right?
No.
But that means that the
Or the
solicitations will
official
be
time.
out next week for
I almost think
January.
that starts May. May, for some reason.
I could have sworn it started. Well, this is
'Cause
this came out in
did you
October,
see
right?
the last page in here where it says about 52? And they're still not saying, they don't say anything about a date. I mean, if it's going to be solicited,
Is it between 4 and 5 then? Is that February?
If it's between 4 and 5, 4 of Infinite Crisis will come out in January, which maybe 52 then comes out maybe at
In
the
February,
end
end
of
of
January or
January.
1st of February or something.
Yeah.
So maybe we won't get it next month. We'll get it the following month.
because they still haven't said anything.
Yeah.
That's,
I
mean,
like
but
that.
but how do you? Well, I guess you just solicit all 4 or 5 issues in 1 month then. So
Yeah.
I
Right.
guess, okay.
I like how if you look in previews, they really don't give you much of a story, like a preview of what's going to happen in the issue. It's just, this stuff happens. That's about it. Just give you a very vague generalization, and then
there are some superheroes, and there's some fighting and some lasers.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's about
That's-
it.
That's Infinite Crisis.
In this big 7 story. That's pretty much
And
what-
that's exactly, to me, previews should say, Teen Titans, issue number 32, written
Shit
by Jeff
happens.
Johns, drawn by so-and-so, inked by so-and-so, it's $2.95, and it ships on this day. That's what every preview should be. There shouldn't be anything about it, don't freaking tell me.
No, you tell me. I don't mind hearing it.
I don't mind hearing a line or two,
Bastard.
but chances are, you're going to, no matter what's going to happen in the issue, unless it's something completely out of the box of what you usually read, you're going to pick it up. Like, I'm going to pick up Batman, even if the storyline sucks like the one in Detective. I'm going to pick it up. It's in the regular books. It's part of the run. I'm going to pick it up. Every once in a while, I look at the cover of, like, Superman or Flash. That looks like a good story. I have no idea what's going to happen in it. The cover just looks attractive. or somebody says something, then I pick it up. So for the most part, those previews, if you just give me one small blurb, shit happens, or Superman takes on Lex Luthor. All right, I'm gonna buy it.
Now here I will praise Phil Jimenez and just the layout of or the scripting for Jeff Johns. You have 3 double-page spreads, and they are all tied into the miniseries. You have the OMAC one with Nightwing, the Rann Thanagar one with all the ships, which meanwhile Jimenez put ships in there that there's a Kund battle cruiser, and there's a Durlan spaceship, and there's
the Kund,
and there's the Omega Men ship, and these are actual. I think that's an O'Karan dreadnought. I mean, these are actual spaceships that were that you could go get the Invasion miniseries, and they are all in there. I mean, it's not just like he went willy-nilly and just drew spaceships for spaceship's sake. Yeah. These are all in there.
But all those spaceships were also at the end of Rann Thanagar, so he just
I don't think they were as detailed though. Did they have?
They were all there because that was like the end. It was the end of the war, and then all of a sudden that big thing pops up, and they're all sitting there, and they all started going towards it.
I'll have to check that. The other one that gets short shrifted is the Day of Vengeance. That gets a page and a fifth.
Yeah, that was the Batman bat symbol.
You know what's bogus about that page though?
Which one?
Is like the Day of Vengeance ones. Is the digital lightning that they put in there. It looks you can tell they superimposed it over a computer, and it just looks bad.
Yeah. And then they also give one to obviously Villains United, which that one is kind of really cool. I do dig that with all the heroes, right? I mean, all the villains.
My favorite of that is
Zoom. Yeah, blurring out. That's cool.
And they are there's a lot of Legion of Doom ones on here too. Well, not a lot, but you got Bizarro and Sinestro and Cheetah. It's kind of cool, like seeing those 3 together.
Let me ask you, Peter. With I know you had a theory before how you can take the previous events, the true ones, the major ones, not like Joker's Last Laugh, and that they're kind of all incorporated in this crisis. Do you still see that as with part 1?
Oh yeah. You got, like I said, you got the Omacs who are either Manhunters from Millennium or the Shadow Demons from Crisis. You got the whole space alien things, which is straight out of Invasion. You got the Spectre, which is straight out of Day of Vengeance. You got the Villains, which is Underworld Unleashed. Mongol is Our World's at War. God, take your pick. I mean, they're all here. It's all pretty much here. Now, is that what they meant to do? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Hey, we got one email from a listener concerning Crisis. It's from Thomas Caters in Chicago. He says, one thing that interests me most about this series is how the characters are going to react to the return of Earth 2 Superman. Will he last in the DC universe past this story? Will his presence change the big 3 significantly? I think a key theme will be making Superman more proactive, Batman less paranoid, and Wonder Woman less aloof. That's kind of like what you just said earlier, how turn them more into superheroes, less with the drama, less with the personal drama, more with the superheroing.
Less Dawson Creek.
Yeah, exactly. That is interesting if they decide to keep Earth 2. I mean, your gut says, well, if they kill somebody, they can kill Earth 2 Superman, because then we still have Superman, and it's no big deal. But maybe they'll keep him and let him hang out for a while.
I think that maybe the Superboy from that might turn out to go back to the Legion.
Oh.
Legion of Superheroes. To bring a Superboy back into Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes.
Was there a Superboy in Legion?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this.
That's why they call it Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes.
That was the book.
That was the book.
Really?
You're looking at me like I had 3 heads. Yes, that was the name of the book for a while.
With the reveal in Villains United, where do you think the extra Luthor came from?
From
an alternate,
from the multiverse, yeah. Probably from. I think he's like the Earth 1 pre-crisis Luthor.
I think you have that. You have Power Girl, and you have Donna Troy, all knowing, and Pariah, and even Psycho Pirate. Did he make
and Lady
mention?
Quark is back.
Lady Quark. You have all these people that know that the multiverse, plus the 4, the Superman, Superboy, Lois, and Alexander Luthor. You have all these people that know the multiverse happened. They're going to come back, and if they don't bring back individual Earths, I think you're going to see all of these loose threads tied up so that people may know that there is a multiverse, and this is the end result. yes, there was, but now we have Power Girl here, and she's going to stay here, and her history is going to be cleared up as a result of all these other people coming in.
You know, now that I said that about having I think one of the mistakes of Crisis, and Marv Wolfman talked about this too, is that people did remember, or nobody, it wasn't as clean of a cut. So I think if they're going to do it right this time, maybe it does need to be a super clean cut this time that nobody knows.
Number one started.
No, I don't think they're going to renumber.
I think that's a bad idea.
No. I mean, but they can easily just, a starting point is a starting point. It doesn't need to be renumbered. But I kind of hope, because there's other, when I was trying to think of this for the forum, that the other leftovers from Crisis are the Earth 2 Wonder Woman who married her Steve Trevor and went up with the gods and disappeared. I mean, that was it. That was the end of Crisis, Flash could technically play a part, if he's running between the seconds right before he dies in the original Crisis.
Barry Allen.
Barry Allen, yep.
But again, this is going to spoil something else. So if you're talking about that, why do that when he was just back a couple months ago?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't fault you there. I mean, because one of the rumors is that Impulse is going to take over the Flash, because somebody said that a Bart Allen is going to take over the Flash. Well, and I said this before, Barry Allen's name is actually, I'm pretty sure, is Bartholomew, which is Bart is short for Bartholomew. So maybe they're throwing us red herrings all over the place. Who knows?
I just think that if there's anything that anybody heard, it was purposefully leaked to be a fake rumor just to see what's going to go on, because they're so tight-lipped about everything. They're not going to say something as significant as that. They are never going to let that secret out. No way.
And you know what? During the crisis counseling, that's exactly what they said. They said, any kind of idea you come up with, any theory, put it out there, tell them that you saw it on some site. He said, the more stuff you can get out there, the better. Yeah. That's what they were promoting people to do. Make up stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the funny thing is no matter how big this storyline is, I'm more interested in the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman thing, in the interaction between them. That is what really is hooking me into all this.
Well, between that and finding out, just because the Wizard had the Scarab, to see what they're going to do with Blue Beetle as a superhero, not necessarily Ted Kord, but
do you think that's going to happen in this though?
Maybe not in this. Maybe in 52. Maybe beyond that. But beyond. Still, I think it might be mentioned here because Shazam knows the Wizard's gone. I mean, Captain Marvel knows the Wizard's gone, so somebody has to have the Scarab, and maybe that's the Spectre now.
I have a question for everybody. At the end of the JLA, 119, Martian Manhunter is on the Watchtower before it blows up and goes blooey. You pretty much see a transporter activate, and it on the board it says Superman is coming. Which Superman is that? Because it's not the Earth 2 Superman, or Earth 1 Superman, whichever, because he escapes from the crystal after the watch. I thought it was him. I honestly thought he was back, and that's what it was. But, with him being back, he's back after the Watchtower's blown up, so who is it?
What? I was just going to say, I'm still not 100% convinced it was a Superman, it was just the logo, pretty much. I mean, how many people but I know Jean said Superman.
No, he said you.
Oh, you.
The DNA, though.
Yeah, it's the DNA and the scanner. That tells you who's coming up.
But wasn't it just the symbol that showed up on the screen?
No, I think
it was the logo.
The DNA.
Yeah, but it's still the logo shows Superman as in.
Well, what happens if Supergirl would have?
No,
no.
That wouldn't have had.
He turned, and in one panel he says something like you, but then there's the next panel where he goes wait or something like that. He is looking at a Superman. I mean, there was theories that it's Power Girl, Supergirl. It has to be a Superman because he is looking, and then you sort of see him like go, well, that's not quite the Superman I know. That's what I got at.
And that's why I was thinking it was the Superman of Earth 2 with the gray
right.
in the hair and all that kind of stuff.
I think that was everybody's, but then, like you said, he doesn't burst out of anything until the end of Infinite Crisis, so it can't be him.
Yeah.
Now everyone also says that Hypertime is going to come up at some point. Could it be Gog? Because that was always thought to be Superman and Wonder Woman's son. That would certainly have Superman's DNA, but would that make sense?
No, that wasn't his.
Why isn't it just Superman of Earth 1?
Because it wasn't.
How do we know that?
Because
he
something wasn't clicking with Martian Manhunter.
We have to wait
about
for the black box that Batman
Yeah.
picks up.
Yeah, I
Of course,
think
he'll
it's.
figure it out.
I thought it may be the Earth One Superman, the pre-crisis one, the one that the Kurt Swan one. Why not? There's another character that survived Crisis and didn't change until a year after, or a couple months after.
If it's some stinking mind control regular Superman, it'll piss me off.
Well, another theory was the Cyborg. I don't know whatever happened with him. Cyborg Superman.
That's not as interesting though.
No. So they
I
won't
think it's
do
the
it.
long-haired Superman.
But
I think he's back
if it was a
with a blue
cyborg,
suit or
We can
whatever.
hopeful.
it would certainly bring in a villain blowing up the Watchtower as part of Villains United.
Yeah, because somebody said on the forum that whoever it was that they felt it. Whoever it was didn't blow up the Watchtower, but they were saving Martian Manhunter. And I went, oh, you know what? That is very true. I mean, just because you saw that last panel of them rushing toward Martian Manhunter, that could be the explosion behind them, and he's trying to save. Maybe he knew it was happening.
Actually, just now that you're thinking about that, isn't Bizarro made out of Superman DNA? Wasn't that all the way back there when they did the?
Yeah, but wasn't it? Didn't whoever the cape was say something that wasn't Bizarro's?
No, he didn't say anything. It was just John turned and said, "You."
Oh, he did say something like "I know" or something, or "You know" or something.
I didn't. Well,
Yeah.
we can wait for Shane to bring it down. I thought he had it there.
I have issue 120, which shows where Martian Manhunter is.
Come on, I didn't know.
I didn't look at that yet.
It doesn't
show you.
Didn't read it yet.
But you flipped the page to me.
But you didn't see it.
No spoilers on this all spoiler issue. Get out of here.
What do you? For some reason, I've been thinking of this theory the last couple days with which is the one where Bruce marries Catwoman. They have Huntress.
That's Earth 2.
That's Earth 2. For some reason, I've been thinking maybe that's not so much Earth 2 as that's just the future version. Like, this is kind of leading into the Earth 2. That.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You see, yeah, exactly. Because there's kind of, just reading with the previous JLA storyline, kind of that undertones that the major change for Batman is maybe him and Catwoman are just, Selina just, would get married, and that would bring some kind of more stability to his character, that he's not one man's an island type of persona, that he has somebody else he can rely on, and he has some kind of happiness to his life. Yeah. So not necessarily that he'll give up Batman, but he still has somebody else there with him.
He says, "I know," and all you see is a cape, a red
It's
cape.
just a red cape.
But you see the two
boots or
panels
anything.
where John is looking at him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he is looking.
Now
at
on
that
the
person.
on the teleportation tube thing, there's two symbols.
One
There's-
is Martian Manhunter.
Was that what that like pie thing is?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Circle
sure it's
with
Manhunter.
Oh, okay.
'Cause it tells who's on the Watchtower at any one time, so that's why.
Okay.
I mean, I think
Did you take the tour?
Yes, yes, it did.
the most interesting option is a Superman somewhere. It can't be. I mean, if they make it Earth 2 Superman and we're watching him explode out of the crystal, and that's going to be kind of sucky.
Yeah, it's going to be one of
I
those
really don't-
Saturday morning matinee serial type things where, hey, he didn't do that. He didn't jump out before that went over the cliff.
Yeah.
Now, just in my defense, I thought everybody would have picked this up as
Well,
what
we-
happened next.
We did, but some of us didn't have a chance to read it.
But I don't.
Assumption
I
is
just-
the mother of all fuck-ups.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be Superman. I don't think it's going to be a Superman. I don't know what the red cape is, and I can't figure out who it would be.
Maybe it was Barda. She has a red cape.
I don't know.
It could be. Yeah, it could be Barda with a boom tube.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't make sense.
No, it
with
wouldn't make
Just-
sense
yeah.
with the
What-
Superman symbol.
It's Lex Luthor with some of Superman's DNA somehow.
I mean, we'll find out.
Yeah,
this
that's
is.
what I say.
We'll
Yeah,
find
I
out.
just that's why I just threw it out. I wanted theories. I wanted to know.
Isn't that one of the theories that by the end of this, Lois and Clark could have a kid? Could
Oh,
be
God.
from the future.
Oh, the whole thing about the Gog. Superman and Wonder Woman's son shows up in Kingdom, and remember he's like that mixture of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
I couldn't remember that.
Yeah.
I thought that the whole point of that was that they were jumping through hyper time, trying to track down Gog, who had grown up, and what you saw as that Superman Batman compilation was early, and this is later.
Yeah,
But
I don't
That Gog
quite
is
remember.
later.
Well, there was another theory about the Connor coming back from the future. The
Superboy.
yeah, the Titans, because he has Superman's DNA.
He also has Luthor's DNA.
Right.
So I don't think that would show up as.
But would it recognize Superman's DNA? And just kind of.
Maybe it's the Earth. Maybe it's the Superboy from that died. Oh God, who knows?
Maybe it's crypto.
Could it be whatever happened to Mon-El, actual Mon-El, that was up in Legion that took Superboy's place?
I
know Legion's all revamped now again and all, but
yeah.
like I can't remember whatever happened to him.
I mean, he usually has a blue cape, so I mean that would be kind of shitty to screw us like that, you know. I don't know. Maybe it's Monitor. Who knows? I mean, I think it's going to be. I think we're not. You know, obviously we're not going to find out, and that's the joy of it.
Oh, yeah.
That we get to guess.
It's fun to have something, like you said, how they're not giving anything away. It's fun to have something that you can speculate 100 different ways, still not have a clue, read it, and if you came across a theory, yeah, you might have it spoiled slightly, but I don't think it'll take anything away because it's in there with 100 other theories that we have right now.
So and then we have the other thing of Donna Troy gathering heroes, and she's going out, and that's the whole Donna Troy thing. I was kind of a little disappointed that the whole Rock of Eternity exploded over Gotham. I was kind of like, oh God, let that poor city alone. You don't have all these other cities in the DC universe you can do that to. You got to do it to Gotham.
But maybe something's going to happen with that where that's where Jim Corrigan's going to be because he's a Gotham cop.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Scarab gets down there.
It just hit me. It just hit me. What? Well, okay. To go in with the whole Batman becomes a Spectre. It's the 7 deadly sins running around Gotham. The only way he can clean up his city and protect his city is to become magically powerful. The only way he can become magically powerful is to go into the one entity that is there that is powerful enough to control and to put the 7 deadly sins or virtues or whatever you want to say back into the Rock of Eternity, which he sent them out of. So maybe just for this storyline, he goes in, boom, does it, cleans up Gotham, and again
as the Spectre.
As the Spectre, this is just totally, right off the top of my head. As a Spectre, and then he gives it up, and they have to find somebody else, and that's where we will get the Jim Corrigan going into the Spectre type.
Because Gotham Central does cross into this.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah.
But can somebody give up the Spectre though like that they just don't want to be it anymore?
I mean, Jim Corrigan did. He pretty much, he had run his course and he had let it. He had gone out. I mean, they've done it with Hal Jordan. I mean, Hal Jordan has stopped being the Spectre. So the groundwork has been laid that I guess you could possibly go in and out if your will is strong enough.
To kind of go back on something we discussed, to me, that defines a hero where, as you said, Shane, when your back's to the wall and you figure no other way to get out of this except for killing, to me, a true hero can find another way, taking on the guise of the Spectre as opposed to just killing everybody. He found, if that theory holds water, he found another way of saving the day without ever having to cross that line of actually killing people. And to me, that's actually what defines a hero, where that option's always there, but you find some other way to come out in the end.
Yeah, but to clean up Gotham like that with all the magic, it's not necessarily that he's going to kill anybody. It's that he has to become something magical to do that.
No, I'm just going back to where we were discussing about with Wonder Woman killing, and I don't have a problem with that. She's a warrior, and that heroes sometimes, like the Joker, if he would have been killed years ago, how many people would have survived? Barbara would have been paralyzed. Just that, to me, I've always felt when a hero's put in that situation of, I could kill this person and definitely save the day, and future lives that he could have taken, or find another way around to save the day. To me, a hero uses the other way around, as opposed to, anyone can take a life, but to save a life or to use a different option, to me that's more heroic than just a simple boom boom you're dead, that's it.
I don't disagree it's more heroic, but when you have somebody controlling Superman, that you can't get that control gone any other way. That is the only other way around it. I don't disagree that it's more heroic to find another way, but
was I the only one that saw the Shadow movie?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
No,
I saw it.
You just take out that part of the frontal lobe that...
Cut out the frontal lobe,
Yeah.
that might only work in that universe.
It's another option that wasn't considered.
What, to stop villains?
No, to his mind control.
If you kick somebody really hard in the nuts, that breaks their concentration, and the mind control's gone. So, right, that's all you have to do.
Just get the flash. Just
Kick him in the nards.
That's right.
Can I do my little toy
Yeah,
thing on
yeah.
Infinite Crisis?
No.
Last week this came out, Toy Fair number 100. I didn't get my issue until today, and I'm reading through it, and it looks like they're going to have Infinite Crisis toys. And it goes through a little spiel.
How many will there be?
Yeah. It goes through a little spiel about sculpting and the whole process. And a couple things they show is Mongol, which is why I think he has to play another prominent part. Why have a figure of him? There's an OMAC, and there's
Bussy LaRue, Power Girl.
there's a prototype of a Power Girl, and then it eludes because people who may not have read Infinite Crisis when reading this, it alludes to 2 more figures that have to do with the last page of Infinite Crisis. So one of those 4 people is going to be made into figures
Probably
for the series.
Alexander, because there's already an Earth 2 Superman.
Yeah, I was thinking Alexander and Superboy.
Yeah. Or maybe
But,
Lois.
I thought that, but why Lois?
Yeah.
There
Makes sense.
There
was-
was Power Girl. Jesus.
Yeah. There was also something in here, and I didn't get to read the article thoroughly. There was something in here where they substituted somebody that they were waiting for design sketches from Phil Jimenez, and they had to delay that figure and come up with a replacement, and the replacement is Mongol. So whatever that other figure is still coming. They just had to wait for more sketches.
Well, they did actually comment on First Wave does not have any of the Trinity. That they're actually...
Do we need another Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman toy? Really? Do we really need another one?
Negative.
I want a nice Talia figure for crying out loud.
I
And
wish
cool
they would have
Lex.
had a nice one from Hush for that.
Yeah.
You know, get a decent Black Adam out of this, or a decent Dr. Light, or the new Zoom.
I actually think for the most part, there's been a couple stinkers, but the DC Direct action figures have come a long way within the last couple of years. They're getting more like they are in the comic. They're getting better quality. I mean, they just look at the Superpowers one from the '80s, which I got a couple of those, but
Yeah, toys themselves have come a long way as far as that goes.
just the detail that goes into these sculptures, I think, is unbelievable. They're just as good as the comics that you buy.
It has a quote here which is funny that Jimenez says, "On anyone else drawing boobs that big would be so offensive that I couldn't handle it. But for Power Girl, it's a character trait."
They're using
So I had to make them huge.
they're using Pam Anderson's boob as a
And bodybuilders.
as a
Reference.
reference point.
I don't know why, but like, you know, when they talk about language in books and stuff like that, the Guy Gardner thing where he's like, if the little blue men won't take charge, I got it. The lanterns need a leader with balls. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's you put that in your event book? Okay.
But I also think that little snippet with Guy Gardner is more not so much smartassy as it is. I mean that is a wisecrack that he would make, but he seems more take charge leader than just I'm going to control everything because I'm the greatest Green Lantern type, which
Yeah.
I always thought.
Oh
was
yeah,
his-
definitely. It just shows you his growth from the original Crisis, but it also shows you the leeway that books are allowed. Same thing with like watching, you know, on TV, watching Law and Order or something like that, where they show ass crack and swear and all that stuff. Times they are a changing.
NYPD Blue.
There's still not enough topless women and stuff. Too many topless men, not enough topless women. Bastards.
Such a good book. I can't wait till the next one. I can't wait until 52 comes out, when it comes out weekly. God, that's going to be
Yeah.
great.
I'm gonna be wasting a lot of gas going back and forth to the
Jeez.
store those weeks.
Yeah, that will be fun.
God, every
I
week.
mean, it really will be fun to read a story
Yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
everything we wanted.
You'll be looking forward to it coming out each week.
For an entire year. I mean, oh.
Now watch that turn into some kind of nice anthology though, where everyone loves a weekly story like that, and they come up with a not necessarily, but I'm going to use the title, a showcase book where it's different stories every week, not necessarily single stories, but a quicker fix to read a continuing story.
Just got to
Well,
put your good artists and writers
That's
on it.
that's the thing. If you took four 4 monthly books, chopped them up into 4-part stories. You could have one book each week that had one of each of those parts of 4 different books, and you could have a weekly book. It's kind of like what we talked about before about ways to, mix things up and change it. I mean, you'd have to keep me buying a book at week after week after week. It's got to be good. Yeah. That's the whole thing. If you start having mediocre second stringers in there, then it's, you lose the faith. But for one event, that's awesome.
But now let me ask you, if they, God forbid, miss a week, how much will that piss you off?
They won't miss a week.
You think this is going to be that tight?
Think, like you said before, I don't think they have the option. I mean, they're billing this with the title alone so far, working title, of 52.
I will be willing to bet they have probably up to March or April in the can already.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, that's why we're not hearing. I think we're not hearing so many things from like Giffen and Morrison and whoever else.
They're all strapped to their their writing desks or drawing desks.
He's got to do the breakdowns.
Yeah,
52 issues. He's got to do the breakdowns for. I mean, he's going to come out of this a basket case.
That's why Jeff Johns didn't show up at Baltimore and places like that. They're working
as they should be.
Do you think
it's their damn job?
20 years from now, Johns will be seen as Marv Wolfman is? Or don't you think this is as much his baby as it was Marv Wolfman's?
Yeah, I think that.
This is more collaborative. It's just that he kind of had the main...
Yep.
Because when it all comes down to it, this is just a redone premise. I mean, no matter what the story may turn out to be, it is still a crisis-related topic, which is just a rehash of... Yeah, it's just a sequel.
Now, the marketing and the push around it and the decisions that have been made around the story...
Totally innovative.
Oh, my God. I mean, what Scott said, about being at Golden Eagle, he said that there wasn't one person that left the store without it.
Yeah,
that he was there.
I heard them say that as I walked down on Wednesday, that the one guy behind the counter made the comment that nobody's walked out of here without buying a copy of it. And I saw it. I mean, when I was there, everybody walked up there, picked up a copy, and walked out.
Somebody on the forum said their little store is like their comic store that they go to is like the one store in like a something mile radius, and he ordered 75 copies of this, whereas normally he would only order like maybe, I think the guy said like 25, 30 copies of anything, thinking that, okay, I'll order 75, and if I happen to have some left over, okay, that's fine. He sold out of them, all of them. Mm-hmm. So that just goes to show you that people who aren't necessarily DC readers are they're just intrigued.
But I bet for this month, House of M number 8 outsells.
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, this will be top one. This will be the number spot. One spot.
I agree. If DC's not picked as publisher of the year in Wizard, I'm going to go ballistic.
No, I know for Golden Eagle, I was talking to them and they said that there was just an entire box, I believe, either 50 or 100 copies from just sitting back there. They hadn't opened it, nothing. They just sat it back there, and they had enough on the shelf. They were going to keep restocking it, but they ordered enough knowing that I think this is a book that, by the time number 2 and number 3 roll out, you may see the second and third printings of this, because DC, I'm sure, will do second printings, since they have a tendency to do that anyway. But the first printings, people will want those. So,
yeah, if this sells out, meaning that there's no copy at DC and there's no copy at Diamond, that's going to be huge, because I'm sure they printed this sucker over in the 200,000 mark, if not more. I mean, even with the double covers, it's just the numbers on this have to be huge. So if they sell out and they're forced almost to print more because buyers are like, we need more copies, that's going to be huge.
Well, I mean, I don't see how they could not sell out at some point, because this is 7 issues, 52 is a whole year. If you start reading anywhere along the line, you're going to want to go back and read from number 1. And so they've stretched it out to over a year. They have to sell out of issue number 1 and do reprints. Come on, it'll happen.
And there's no way they're going to trade or hardback this in that year, I don't think.
No, it'll be like Infinite Crisis, where we'll have to wait until it's been done for a year. And
You mean Crisis on Infinite Earths?
No, I mean Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis, okay.
Yeah.
Damn Crisis, everything's a crisis.
I know.
When I was putting this in my inventory spreadsheet, Infinite Crisis goes right under Identity Crisis. And I was like, yeah, that's nice. I like that.
Oh, that completely fucks up your system, right?
No,
why?
it's because of alphabetical
That's
order. Right?
alphabetical order. What are you talking about over there? Any last minute thoughts?
No, I think I
So we-
pretty much came up with everything I wanted to say.
When we do this again, hopefully more listeners will send in their emails about the story. Problem is, we talk about it on the forum, so everybody kind of...
Yeah, that's. I mean, the first day I sat down, I got
It's like
my
4 pages of posts.
I got my copy and I sat down and I read it. I went over onto the forum. There was like you said, about 3 pages worth of spoilers on the spoiler page.
I have to say, one of the things I've noticed is, well, I guarantee you there's at least 2 or 3 ideas that have been posted as possible theories that are true, because with the Villains United, I expected Mockingbird to be Lex.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I kind of had a theory, well, maybe it's an alternate. But that, that's something that was posted, so in a way when I read it, I was like, I kind of figured it. It kind of took some joy out of it, but, it's still there, the surprise. But that's one of the downfalls I kind of see, is that there's so much stuff out there, something's got to be true that when it actually, if it is, like, it was...
And that's why I think if there's a Luthor, and we have 2 Supermen, then there may very well be a Wonder Woman and a Batman floating around there too. I think they might do something crazy like that. I don't know.
All right. Well, tune in next month for an episode about issue number 2, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Take care. Don't forget, Batman Begins tomorrow.
That's right, DVD. Well, by the time this comes out, they will have already.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Send your emails to Peter Reeves.